Good morning, gamers. Welcome into the Gamers Rose podcast. I'm your host, Joshua J. Alongside me, Wesley Lance.
Good morning.
It's December 30th, everybody. Happy New Year's to you.
Oh, yeah. While they're watching this, I'm going to be at the dentist. It's fine.
Not good. You're starting the year off a little rough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or right, drugged. Who knows? Maybe some people
You know
love
what? After the
drugs.
last couple of years we've had, a drugged up stupor might be the way to go into 2022, man.
Go in stumbling and falling like, wee, not knowing what's going on.
It's the only place you can go from there is up, right?
Although when you ask the question, what year is it? I mean, that's an okay question.
What year is it?
You're like, 2022, actually, I think now. Anyway, we're glad you guys joined us today to listen to the podcast, even though it's right about New Year's. I can't believe the year's over.
Yeah, it's been. I feel like we say this every week, but it simultaneously felt like the longest year and the shortest year.
Yeah,
like I feel like the past 2 years have accounted for like 5 or 6, but they also feel like they've lasted 6 months.
Well, like when the memory things on Facebook pop up, and I'm just like, it just seems like a whole different life. Not even years ago, it just seems like that was a different me. Like completely.
Yeah,
I don't know. But anyway, we're glad you guys are here to watch this with us. We would do the Thursday night football game, but they don't have that because the college games are going on. I believe it's the bowl games, right?
Yeah, it's a bunch of bowl games.
So, yeah, watch those if you guys like college football. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'll probably still turn it on because I'm a huge fan of football. But yeah, so there's no prediction for Thursday night football.
Dead face.
Yeah, I can't. The season's almost over. We got 2 more weeks of regular season. Then it goes to postseason with the playoffs and all that.
And then the Super Bowl.
Yep, but don't forget the Pro Bowl.
I can't wait to see Tom Brady back again because you know he's going to worm his way in there somewhere.
I hope he does because that means Aaron Rodgers did not go. So,
what if it's both of them?
They can't be. They're both.
Oh, they're both in the same conference.
Yeah. Well, you got the AFC and the NFC.
Yeah.
They're both NFC. I would love to see. I'd like to see the Bills go to the Super Bowl this year.
Where are the Bills from?
The Buffalo Bills.
Oh, the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I really hope they go. That'd be awesome to see them go in and destroy
do something.
Someone. I don't. They're not super great this year. They're better than their record shows.
They're not
I think.
good.
No, they're better than their record
bad.
shows. But I don't know. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, and we'll see what happens. But
Alrighty.
time for the coffee real quick.
Yeah,
I'm excited about this one.
This smells really good.
So this is from Frothy Monkey Roasting Company.
It does not smell as good after knowing the name.
It's an orange hazelnut and milk chocolate blend. I got this when I was in Kentucky from one of their local roasteries there. And I'm super excited to try it.
Frothy Monkey. Why would you name your drink company that?
I don't know.
All right, here we go. Swallowed too much. I'm not sure, actually.
It tastes like just...
It's a little like soup broth.
It's just kind of like... it's just like there.
Yeah. It's definitely not bad.
There's nothing that is like, oh yeah, like that's it, you know?
So I've always felt like this is like whenever coffee say that they have like notes of this or that, I've never been able to like actually taste that. They're like, yeah, this one's got notes of chocolate. This one's got notes of like cherry and fruit. Like I've never been able to do that. So like maybe that's what it's saying. It's like the notes of stuff, but I don't know, man.
I know the hazelnut just a little bit. I would say this is a very good base. Like,
yeah,
I would drink this all day. And if you wanted to add flavor to it, you very well could. You could add any type of creamer to this, and it would be
work.
fantastic. This on its own, it's just a really good, it's a cup of coffee. Like it, you know what I mean? When you think cup of coffee, this is the type of coffee you would think of.
It's not particularly strong or even particularly flavorful, honestly.
But it's also not bad. It's not weak. Yeah.
I would definitely rate something like Big B or Pete's over this, though.
Pete's
coffee is really good.
Pete's, yes. Big B's, no. I'm not a big fan of Big B's.
Oh.
But I would give this a good 6.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 6. A solid 6. Again, if you're looking for a cup of coffee, this is not going to run you bad.
No.
Better than the amaretto.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this would definitely be a. It smells really good.
It smells
but
really good. Taste
I
is
don't
all right.
know. Maybe I just brewed it. I brewed it how they said to brew it, so I don't know. But it does taste like coffee. Like I said, when you think
Tastes like
coffee,
coffee.
when you think coffee, you think this cup. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like it's
The floor
your
here is made out
generic
of
cup
floor.
coffee, but in a good way.
I guess. Yeah. 6. Easy 6. Like, it's not bad, but
like
it's
your
nothing
okay,
special.
so when someone says, "Yeah, I drive a car," and you think of just your normal sedan, like that's what this is. It's like it's not a bad car. It's a great car. It doesn't have any mechanical issues with it, but it's not like a sports car or a
Gotcha.
Jeep.
That makes
Like
sense.
it's just like
actually.
it's just a car.
I was
It's a
going to
car.
make fun of you for that, but then it actually turned out to be a pretty good analogy.
I kind of have those every once in a while.
Yeah. So, all right.
Onto the roast. Of
Yeah. So you actually sent me this one because after Christmas, I just didn't get a chance to actually like look for anything. So, this is from the BBC. So we're getting like high profile news this week, ladies and gentlemen. Tesla disables gaming while driving feature. Disables, meaning that this was enabled for several years. Tesla has agreed to make changes to its passenger play feature that allowed games to be played on its touchscreen while the car is in motion. It follows an investigation launched by the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA. The agency said it had been informed by Tesla that a software update would disable the feature while driving. Elon Musk's car firm had faced criticism that the feature was dangerous. The New York Times reported that Tesla had contacted the NHTSA directly. Passenger play will now be locked and unusable while the vehicle is in motion, the agency told the paper. Tesla has not issued any formal statement on the matter. So it goes on to talk about how it was supposed to be used for passengers. Like it's called passenger play. So, but like
still.
they were saying there's really no like although the ability to play games on the car's touchscreen was not aimed at drivers and asked the person playing to confirm that they were a passenger, there was nothing to prevent a driver using it. Which them saying, well, we asked if they were the driver is no. That's like having an event and asking everyone if they have any weapons and not checking. Like, do you have a gun? No. Well, you said he didn't have a gun. Like,
just like so we let him in.
yeah. So no, that doesn't work.
Just asking if they have a ticket. You got a ticket? Yep. Cool. Go on inside.
I kind of understand what they were going for, like giving people that are passengers a little bit of entertainment alongside. Like, I get it, but no. Having somebody play a game on your touchscreen that you're presumably using for like GPS also is just a surefire way to get a distracted driver. Because like if someone was playing a game next to me while I was driving, like it's one thing if they've got a handheld game like a Switch or a DS or something and they're like in their own little world and you're just driving. But for it to be right there, and again, you know some people were playing games while driving. You know what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's why they're going for self-driving cars, you know? So would they keep it disabled if you're in self-driving mode?
I would say yes, because then everyone put their car in self-driving mode, and that still sometimes it doesn't quite work just perfectly. So
I don't like self-driving cars.
I think they're cool.
They freak me out.
But I would still want to just stare straight ahead and be like, I need to make sure, like, as soon as I look away, the car's going to kill me. I just know it's going to kill me. Like, I don't... So it's like the iPhone. The iPhone, when you go to use your iPhone, if you have it plugged into your car via USB, it'll be like, you can't get on your phone while driving. And all you have to do is say, I'm not driving. And then you can have access to your phone again. And so...
It works on the honor system, basically.
Yeah, the iPhone works on the honor system, which in one sense you could say like, okay, well, who is Apple to tell me you can't use it while driving? Like Apple shouldn't be able to dictate what I do. I have free will. That being said, don't use your dang phone while driving, okay? I mean, it's just stupid. But yeah, I don't know. Like I get on one hand, like you're saying, like if you say, yes, I'm not the driver, then all liability is off of Tesla at that point. You know?
That's what it is. It's a check mark.
Right. It's just like, hey, are you sure you want to disobey the law and like possibly
kill
people?
Are you sure you
want to?
Like,
yes, I do.
That would be something if they started saying, are you sure you want to endanger the lives of everyone you know and love and become a public menace to society?
I feel like some people need that button for when they even open their door to walk out in the morning. Like, are you sure you want to go outside? You will endanger so many lives. sorry.
Honestly, that's anytime you get in a car, though, you're endangering your life and the lives of other people.
I know. People say there's no trust in humanity anymore. Well, do you drive? Do you trust them not to cross that yellow line? One crazy moment of a brain. I know my brain's... Never mind.
Wow.
Your brain has done this before. Okay? I'm sure it has. Where you just go, what if I just cross the yellow line? Like, what if I just...
Well, it's kind of the whole thing like when you're standing at the edge of like a big cliff and your brain is just like, what if we jumped off? And you're like, what brain? What?
You're like, why are you trying to kill me?
Like everyone has done that's been studied scientifically. Like, why do you want to jump off a ledge when you're there? Like, it's happened to me. Like when I was on the Empire, I was up at the top of the Empire State Building, and they've got like big guardrails. But I was like, what if I could fit through these rails? I'm like, what? Stop! Stop, brain!
The funniest thing would just be if someone you just heard, like you were one floor down, as someone fell past you, just heard a Spider-Man.
What?
It's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Okay. Wow, that got dark.
At the last second, he did have like some.
He actually had the web shooters,
and you're like, oh no,
Peter Parker just likes to troll people. He just jumps from the Empire State Building to freak people out and just sticks to the wall halfway through.
He's just, I'm tired of my life. Jumps and he's like, jokes, swings. You're like, oh.
Then someone dies of a heart attack from stress.
Oh, that's so sad.
Wow.
But then he could take him to the hospital real quick because he's Spider-Man.
He's Spider-Man. Yay!
Perfect timing.
So anyway, Tesla, why were you allowing people to play games in your car? Why is that even a thing? Your car, it should be used for driving, not for gaming. Let people play games like on their... If people are going to play games, they're going to lock their switch into their steering wheel, and they're going to do it like while they're steering. Back in my day, you had to work to game while you were driving. It wasn't handed to us on a silver platter.
Oh, man. Or texting. You didn't have the like little voice to text or predictive text. You had to do the little keypad, like hit the...
yeah.
You want C, you hit, you know, 111, you know.
I'm talking like I've had a car for longer than we've had voice to text. I've really only had a car for like 5-6 years.
Well, but think about it. Like, I've had a car since... Technically, I got one when I was 16. I bought my first car. But, 10 years ago? I mean, back in 2011...
True, yeah.
Those were flip phones. Like, technology has advanced in the past 5 years significally.
That's true. Yeah, like, actually, my first phone was a little phone that, like, slid open.
Yeah.
But it didn't have the T9, the 9 buttons. It had it was a keyboard. But the phone was, like, this big. So the keys were like the size of a Tic Tac.
I remember
half
when
a Tic Tac.
My dad got like the Blackberries.
Oh yeah, with the full keyboard.
Yeah, and it was like, what is this? This is great. And now it's iPhone 13 Pro Max, all this other fun, crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's insane, man.
But see, Tesla and other cars, you have the TV deal in the back seats.
Yeah,
for the passengers there.
Yeah,
like no one's ever put one in the front where it'd be bad to put it where the airbag is because now you're just creating shrapnel. But if you had one like up there, it's like, well, it's for the passengers. Like, well, it's still very distracting for the driver.
Now, I want to know, is it in the center of the console or is it over on the passenger seat?
It's in the center. So like...
Okay, see, if they put it over on the passenger side...
It's right here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like literally there.
That looks like it's actually made for the driver.
It's like, you want the GPS or do you want the video game? Well, let's do the video game. We'll forego the GPS. We don't care where we're going.
We're lost, but at least we ain't bored.
At least we got video games until you run out of electricity. Then it's like,
if they had put it on the passenger side of the car, that would have made me feel a little bit more like, oh yeah, no, it's for passengers. Because like, who's gonna reach across? I got it. I got the game. I'm playing the game.
True.
People would still try, but
but then imagine if the airbag did go off and like you're watching a 4D movie, you're like, wow, it's like real life. Boom, it just smacks you in the face.
Wow. Anyway, sorry, we've spent enough time roasting Tesla. Don't do that. I mean, good on you guys for taking it out, but why was it there in the first place?
Right. I mean, Tesla's a good company and all that. So
back in my day.
All love, but dude, really? Come on. Come on, son. So next up, we got a game coming out. It's actually in December 17th. This game came out, so just like 3 days ago, came out in alpha. So or early access.
Yeah, it's on Steam.
It's called Ready or Not. And the game itself, I watched some gameplay, looks incredible. It's very detailed. It's a PC game, mainly because I think they have way too many buttons for console. But it's very detailed, multiplayer or single player. It's a SWAT-based game. You play it very tactically. You have to go in, rescue civilians, almost like Rainbow Six Siege if it was actually a strategic shooter and not just run and gun like, you know, Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. To me, it's what Rainbow Six was hoping to be. And it's by Void Interactive. And they announced that they will be parting ways with publisher Team 17 earlier this week because, well, I think they actually said it wasn't because of this. They claimed it was.
They were claiming it was not. So
I lost my spot. Sorry, you go for it. I lost.
So we don't have time to read the whole article, so I'm just gonna summarize it. Basically, Ready or Not is it's a SWAT simulator, so it deals with a lot of like really distressing situations. And at one point on the Ready or Not subreddit, a user asked if the game should have a school shooting mission where the SWAT team goes in to defuse a school shooting. And in response, a Void Interactive developer replied, quote, "You better believe it's gonna," unquote. Which is a terrible PR gaffe. Why on earth would you say it like that?
Which
what?
I get them having one in there.
Right.
Like they're making it super realistic. They want you to understand what our law enforcement officers have to go through. And I understand that. But in a time where that is such a
really
touchy subject, like it's just
because it happens way too often.
Exactly. It's not a good look. Like if they were to be like, they could have easily handled this by going, yes, we're going to have it in there, but we are making sure we take every possible precaution to make sure we do it done right. And we make sure that we have no disrespect towards anyone or anybody that has anything to do with it. We're working with law enforcement to make sure that it's done correctly. Because I get the fact of trying to make media, which video games are media, they're a form of entertainment, but they're also a form of, in my opinion, learning. Like you're trying to, help people understand certain things and put them in situations to help them understand what's going on a little bit.
Games anymore are trying much harder to impact people in a way that like they're not solely entertainment mediums anymore.
Right.
There are media anymore. They're trying to impact people on a deeper level. This article mentioned was it 6 days in what's it called?
6 Days in Fallujah?
Yeah, 6 days in Fallujah. Like the backlash that got by trying to do take on a real world situation. And like it's a surefire way for a developer to communicate their worldview and to get critiqued on it. And I think that's a good thing. I think people should be able to express. I think a while back I mentioned Tonight We Riot, which is like that socialist game made by socialistic developers. The villains are greedy capitalists, and like you have a mob of people that are just disposable little people that like get killed by cops, and you throw more people in. Like it's a terrible worldview. But I'm glad they made the game so that we can like talk about it and like discuss it. And so I liked the statement that they issued later was much better. Just kind of talking about trying to impact people and by not shying away from difficult content, scary or like just controversial content. They don't want to shy away from stuff just because they think people might be upset. Right. So I understand that. I don't think that they're doing it to blatantly offend people. I think that they're doing it to make it more of a realistic experience. I think for a while, when we were talking about this, my mind immediately went to the No Russian mission in MW2, where you're undercover with Makarov, and they shoot up an airport. And you, as the player, don't have to shoot any civilians.
No, you do. They make you.
Oh, do they make you?
Because if you start walking through not shooting, they catch on and they're like, why haven't you done anything? And then they kill you.
Yeah. So you have to shoot. I remember in the remastered version, they allowed you to skip that.
In the original of the game,
did they let you too?
As well.
Okay.
They said, hey, this is something that is very disturbing and touchy, but for the purpose of the game, we feel like we need to leave it in there and to show you how things truly are sometimes. So I played through that mission, and I remember at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. And like, I was chuckling. By the end of walking through that airport, I was just sitting there staring at my screen like, I literally hate myself and all these people.
Yeah.
Like it made me hate the people that I was supposed to hate. Like,
yeah.
And
I
did
think
its job.
It's amazing when games are able to do that. And I haven't played very many games that impact me on that level. And so I think what's difficult in a world where we're so hypersensitive to, and in some ways, this is going to sound bad, we ran about cancel culture a lot. There are aspects of it that I'm glad we have. There are aspects of it that I think allow people that are abusing others, they can't get away with it anymore because people are super hypersensitive. But a consequence of that is people are kind of scared to say anything that could be deemed as controversial. And the whole point of art is to be controversial. I think it was George Bernard Shaw said that all great truths start out as blasphemies. Essentially, I'm going to actually verify that quote before I go on. George Bernard Shaw. I'm just going to look up blasphemies. That's a great idea.
Oh my gosh. Blasphemies.
All great truths begin as blasphemies. Yeah. So I don't necessarily agree with that because I think that, I'm a Christian and I believe that there are some things that you just you don't touch. But I think what he's saying is if you're going to make any sort of impact, you're going to upset some people. And if we're always too scared to shy away from controversial content for fear of being criticized, we're never going to get anywhere.
Right.
And again, I don't think that they were doing it disrespectfully. I think that they were doing it to show a realistic scenario, and people can disagree with that, and that's good because maybe it'll spark a discussion on A, how we approach difficult situations in media, and B, maybe how law enforcement responses can be improved to even prevent this sort of thing. So it's not always an interception thing. This could actually do some real good depending on how it's approached. But none of this, we wouldn't be talking about this if they just decided, nope, that's too controversial. We're not going to put it in.
Right. And I think, again, the way the PR guy handled it was horrible. And he should be reprimanded for how he
wasn't the PR guy. He was just a random developer on Reddit.
Oh, God. Well, either way, still, he should be bro, you don't get to talk about the game at all anymore on any platform. But because they did say the widely held assumption that is that Team 17 didn't think a school shooting level was an appropriate idea, and Void Interactive didn't want to let it go. A Void Interactive representative denied any connection, though, between the split with Team 17 and the planned school shooting level. So they're saying that's not why they split. Take that or leave it.
Well, I think what's interesting about it, though, is I was actually looking at Team 17's catalog, and they've published some pretty controversial games like Blasphemous, which is I read a review about. Geeks Under Grace actually has a review on it because the whole point is it's blasphemous, it's against religion kind of. But the guy who reviewed it at Geeks Under Grace, Maurice, kind of said, ironically enough, because of the controversial. I'm going to misquote him, so I'll give you a link so that you guys can actually read the review. But essentially, it almost becomes a weirdly spiritual experience because it's not afraid to shy away from spiritualism. Whereas when people just kind of skirt around it, it didn't impact, and Blasphemous did. But that's they did Going Under too. Sorry, that was another game I've been wanting to play. But Team 17 has published some games that could be deemed as controversial before, so I tend to believe them on that.
No, I mean you're right, and that very well could be. It's hard to just believe anything anymore when people say something like, "Oh, well, I did or didn't do this." Trust me, I don't know. But the game itself does look very interesting, very tactical. If you shoot someone on accident, you bust in the door, and civilians start running, and if you get shot in this game, 2 shots, 2 bullets, and you pretty much go down, you're dead. So it's you are very hypersensitive to any movement. And I remember this one guy busted in and saw a dude in a yellow vest start shooting at him and then run up. He backed up behind the wall. And then when he turned back around, there was a person in a yellow vest running towards him, and he pointed the gun and shot. It was a civilian. The bad guy had a yellow vest on as well, but ran up the stairs. So he got a bunch of negative points for it, almost failed the mission because he killed a civilian.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where he just saw the yellow vest and he pulled the trigger. And so it helps people kind of understand things happen so quick and you're just caught up in this situation. And it's just a video game. And he was so quick for that trigger,
And he made it. It's kind of like how in House of Ashes that one character has the backstory where he killed a civilian because she had earbuds in and she couldn't hear them when they said stop. Stop. And so they took her out and she was carrying groceries. They thought she had a bomb. He made a mistake and he carried it with him the rest of his life.
Yeah. And so and even if you kill a bad guy in this, if you say put your hands up, the guy puts his hands up and someone else busted in the door and just shot him because they freaked out, it took a lot of points away from that because it was a needless death. So even if you kill the bad guys, if they're surrendering, it still counts against you. So it's definitely they try to make it legit, which is good. But everyone has to make their decisions on what they think is too far in a game. And that's up to the just like I think art is up to just how you look at a painting, and it's up to the person to interpret the painting how they feel.
Yeah.
It's kind of how video games have started to become.
They really have. It's weird.
So I think it's a good way to go.
Do we want to talk about the games we've been playing, or do we want to do the...
I want to talk about the games we've been playing. If we have time, we'll go into kind of a nostalgic thing, but we don't have a whole bunch of time. So I want to go straight into kind of what we've been playing.
Yeah.
Because this kind of actually goes along with one of the games that we've been playing, both of us, Ghost Recon Wildlands.
It's so much fun.
It has not, it's kept its place. I am shocked at the graphics that...
I know. So it came out in what would you say, 2017?
I think it was 2017, yeah.
So that was in the PS... That was a PS4 game, right? Yeah, that would have been PS4. But still, it looks incredible. The gameplay really holds up. It's been so nice to hop back in. So we used to hang out. I remember we played Ghost Recon when we were 13 or 14. I came over and we played one of the earlier Ghost Recon games on the original Xbox or 360. And I remember that was the first game I played that really made me think about what I was doing. You have to go in quietly and think about it. And this is giving me that same feeling, but in this massive open world. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it came out 18, 19, 20. So 4 years, 8 months ago.
It's almost 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago this game came out, and the graphics look better than the Battlefield 2042 graphics. It's insane. I don't know if that tells how crap Battlefield is or how amazing this game is. But
yeah, I know. That kind of makes me feel a little weird.
You got a 7.9 on IGN. I would definitely recommend it to everybody. It's on sale right now.
Is it still on sale?
It would still be on sale. It ends, I think, January 2nd is the last
Okay, so you got a couple days. It's like $12.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth it. But we've been playing the mode, it's called Ghost Mode, and if you die in Ghost Mode, you die. You have to create a whole new character.
You die in real life.
And I mean, this is like a 40-hour campaign.
Yeah.
And if you... we died.
Oh, my word. We died so many times.
Twice. We died twice. But we died within an hour of each other. So it's not like we lost a whole bunch of progress, thankfully. We were mainly doing side missions, but
still, we died in stupid ways too. I walked off a cliff.
Yeah.
That was dumb. That made me feel real angry.
It was nighttime though, so
Yeah, in my defense, I couldn't see the gaping void in front of me.
But it is a blast. I mean, it's a lot of fun. The thing that I was referencing though when I said it kind of goes along with it though is they take it's set in Bolivia, and your whole goal is to take out a guy named El Sueño who is running a drug operation, and they have some subjects in here that are kind of not necessarily touchy, but just kind of ooh, that's that's out there.
Well, yeah, it doesn't shy away from the public executions that Santa Blanca does. You find bodies strung up all over the place.
Right, but then also he talks about how he believes in I think it's Santa Muerta.
Oh, right.
And I walked up on one, and it's a skeleton in robes and everything as Santa Muerta, but has Jesus laid across her lap with the crown of thorns on his head.
Oh.
And he's just dead on her lap, and showing that she is actually the one to worship and everything. So they do a very weird spin on Catholicism actually. And their priest, in one of the missions, the priest, which is a small spoiler for you, but the priest is, you have to go capture one of his priests that has actually done child trafficking.
Ooh.
And so they really go into it kind of deep, but it makes you hate so much every single person of that organization.
Yeah.
And so it really does a great job of making you a good guy going in and taking out the bad guys. It's a really great story in terms of how they've done it, and the whole game as a whole is amazing. But it definitely was a little bit controversial with some of that stuff.
Right, but again, if they hadn't done that, it wouldn't have told the story as well.
Right.
It wouldn't have built up Santa Blanca as well as it did.
Right. And it's an amazing game. It's just an amazing game. That's the main thing that I've been playing recently. I have been playing a little bit of Battlefield 2042, some Halo. We started going through Halo series.
Oh, yeah, we got to get back into that.
We do. We started with Halo Reach. We're trying to do the timeline that they showed and set up. So
yeah. So I have been, for pretty much the whole of last week, my game that I'm reviewing for Geeks Under Grace this month is It Takes Two. Finally hopped into it. Michaela's playing through it with me. And let's just say that there's a reason it won Game of the Year. I have never, ever seen a game do this many gameplay styles and do them well. I've seen games try, and it always ends up feeling like they should have just stuck with one thing and fleshed it out. I've never felt like this with this game. Like every time you settle into a gameplay rhythm, it throws something new at you, completely different, and it sticks with it and fleshes it out so well. And I think something Michaela and I noticed last night even was the gameplay matches the pacing of the story. So the story of It Takes Two, a couple having trouble in their marriage, they're planning on getting divorced. Their daughter has a book on love by Dr. Hakim, and she says, I don't know if she prays or something. Anyway, her parents end up being transformed into these dolls that she has made of them, and they have to get back to their regular bodies. But the Dr. Hakim book comes alive and is Dr. Hakim and is like counseling them through their relationship as they go through this game. And it's so natural and well written. It feels like a Pixar movie written specifically for adults. Like Pixar movies do a really good job of balancing, like it's for kids, but it's also for adults. This feels like a Pixar movie written for adults, and not in like any like raunchy or like inappropriate way, but like it's mature. Like the themes are mature. The stuff that they talk about like is really serious stuff, and it's paced so well, and the gameplay matches. So like last night we did the clock tower chapter.
Oh, right.
Which is a really hectic, stressful chapter. The clock tower is falling apart around you, and then the next chapter is you're in a snow globe and you're just like ice skating, and and Cody and May are remembering their first Christmas together in this like snow covered village. And Michaela actually has done some reading into like attachment styles and physicality in relationships. And something she noticed at the end of the clock tower, they are at the end of it, they become the little, like, it's like a cuckoo clock, and they become the little people, and they come together and face each other. And she says that's the first time they've faced each other in this game in a non-confrontational way. Because she really gets into the psychology of relationships. It's really cool. But she always noticed, she's like, whenever a couple is having a fight in a movie, if you watch out for the way that they interact, if they're facing away from each other or not looking at each other, they're not doing it right. You have to look at each other because that diffuses confrontation when you actually look at each other. And so she says, when a movie does that, it means that it's trying to show you that they really do want to solve the conflict. Whereas if they're shoving each other away, or if one person is trying and the other person is like pushing them away, that means that they're closing themselves off. And so she's been kind of analyzing the actual like animation, and it matches up with actual relationship psychology.
That's interesting.
It's so cool, and it's gorgeous, and the voice acting is amazing. Like I feel like we use the term interactive movie a lot, and I think it's kind of meaningless. I think I even used it a couple weeks ago when I was talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake. This really does feel like you are controlling a Pixar movie. And it's so much fun. And what I've been most impressed by about it is Michaela is a newbie to games. Like she has had no experience. We've played like Lego Harry Potter, like some pretty simple stuff. She's played Call of Duty Zombies, so you know she's not like terrible. But she's been able. She doesn't do platformers. Okay. Platformers have always stressed her out. She has a hard time with depth perception in games. She's been able to pick it up. It was tough at the beginning, but as we've gone through, the game is accessible enough that she's been able to build platforming skill playing this game.
That's really cool.
Like she's really smooth with it now. Like usually the jumps that she was struggling with at the beginning of the game, she can do fluidly one shot. And whenever you die, you instantly respawn. There's no loading. It doesn't punish you for dying. The checkpoints are super generous. It's definitely built for it. I don't know how. But it strikes the balance of being challenging enough for somebody who is really experienced with games, but accessible enough for a newbie. And I think that's what, oh my word. What's the studio that made this?
It Takes Two.
No. It's not Take Two Interactive. We already made this.
Wait.
No, it's not. It Takes Two developer.
Oh, I was thinking of the name of the game.
You were thinking, yeah. And I thought you were thinking of Take Two Interactive. Hazelight Studios. Hazelight Studios has somehow managed to find that balance that every game tries. Well, not every game, but games have tried to for a long time, and I've never quite. They either end up being too hard or too easy, and this one is it's a perfect balance. It's going to be really hard for me to write this review and not feel like I'm just parroting everything the Game Awards said. Like, that's the problem is the Game Awards happened, and then everybody in Geeks Under Grace was like, we don't have a review of the Game of the Year. And I was like, I got it. So it's going to be really hard for me to stay objective. I'm going to try. It's not perfect. There's been a couple like graphical bugs and that sort of thing, but like it's pretty close.
Well, so the crazy thing is Hazelight has done great at going from A Way Out, which was the game where you are two prisoners and you escape prison. You're working together to take down the guy that put you in prison.
Yeah,
all these things.
Very
really
good, but definitely flawed.
Right. The way they did it was very good at getting you to play together. The way the multiplayer works, the fact that if you buy the game, you can give it to your friend for free. They don't own the game, but they can only play when you play.
I think It Takes Two is the same way.
Yeah, it is. And so like they did really good with that. The voice acting was rough. It was kind of rough with
a little bit. Out. It wasn't terrible. But it was
it was
after hearing how good voice acting can be with It Takes Two, yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying is going from that to this, because in that one they did the multiple different types of gaming as well, different genre, and they did amazing at that. Like I did one, it was a Street Fighter game, and I was like, this is so sweet, like playing a Street Fighter game in this game. And so when you go over to this, just seeing the development of this team is amazing. And I'm so excited to see what they do next because I'm 100% going to get it.
I have never really... So I've been playing games for a while. It takes a lot for me to feel like genuinely like enchanted by an experience. When we got to the castle and the game transformed into a full-on dungeon crawler, I laughed. I started laughing. I couldn't stop laughing because I was like, what is this game? Like it turned into like an actual dungeon crawler. May gets this like suit of armor that gives her a flaming sword. Cody becomes a wizard and you have to fight through the dungeon to get through the castle. It went from a platformer to a dungeon crawler in the most smooth transition I've ever seen. I could not stop laughing. When you're piloting the plane and you have to fight off the squirrels and it turns into Street Fighter. And Michaela was May, so she was playing the Street Fighter game while I was piloting the plane. Again, I just started laughing because I was like, what is this game? Like, it's all of a sudden a fighting game. Like, what?
It's so good though. It's amazing how they do that. Their first game, like, so the people that made, it's called Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. That core
That's
team
another
went on
one I've wanted to play.
Hazelight Studios, and that was similar to these. But I've never heard of that game. And then a couple people heard of A Way Out, but it was like, that's a great game. It's a good experience. And then It Takes Two gets Game of the Year. Like the way the studio is progressing is
three games.
And it's like, they're like, the first one, they're like, oh, people were like, okay, but no one really heard of it. The second one, everyone's like, okay, well, people know what the game is now. People have heard of this game. It's common. And then the next time they're like, okay, third time's the charm, Game of the Year. And I'm like,
actual Game of the Year.
So I'm excited. I don't know if they're coming up with I know they're coming up with a new game.
They've been saying that, they're going to... Also, Joseph Ferris, the director of It Takes Two, has straight up said if you get bored of his game, he will pay you $1,000.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to call him up and tell him I got bored of this game.
He's that confident in it that...
Can I call him up and tell him I got bored of the game? He'll give me money?
I kind of feel like it's that money back guarantee. Like, if you're not satisfied, mail us your box top. Like, I don't know that...
I'll mail him that game.
Were you bored, or would you just be doing it for the money?
Well, of course I'd just be doing it for the money, man. I'd mail him back that game. Give me $1,000, and then I'll go buy it again, and then have extra $980.
Yeah, It Takes Two director offers $1,000 to anyone who gets bored of the game.
Yeah, they're saying the next game, they haven't announced it yet, but they said it's going to just blow the socks off everything. So, which everyone says, but the way they've done it, I mean, you can't not trust them. They've stepped it up every game that they've done. So, the game director explained similar story beats that fans may have noticed in A Way Out and It Takes Two, suggesting potential spoilers in the storytelling of the studio's unannounced project. Interesting. But yeah, oh my gosh, I'm excited. So, I'm excited for the next game. But that's really cool that you guys have been able to play through that and everything. And
it's been really fun.
Games this year are just getting better and better. I feel like a lot of your AAA games, like, your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, all of these like main core games are kind of starting to wane.
Yeah.
And the people that, It's almost like they started caring way too much about money. Not almost, they have. And other studios have really started caring about their game and their story and their plot. And that's why it won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the fact that it won Game of the Year, it's just a studio that only has only two games.
What do you mean technically?
Because the Brothers game is not technically by Hazelight. The core team that made that then founded that, like, I think a year after that game came out. So technically only two games.
Yeah.
So, and no wonder they called it It Takes Two. Because the first one didn't get it. The second one did. It takes two games.
It takes two games to win Game of the Year. If you don't get it in 2 games, studios just stop.
You just suck as a studio.
Yikes.
That's all the time we pretty much have for today, though, guys. I'm blown away, though, by the fact that we've already been doing this show for now 23 episodes. We're going into 2022, and I'm excited where games are. I'm excited where we are. I'm excited how all this is going.
Yeah.
So, again, if you guys, like it, subscribe, hit the like button. There's a donation for the podcast listeners. If you'd like to hit it, go for it. Thank you so much to Joshua Garcia for hitting that and for donating to us. I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Yeah.
And drink lots of coffee, play lots of games, watch lots of football.
Happy New Year.
And we'll see you guys next year.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun joke.
Bye.